Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Hope y'all are doing well on this Monday. Had a fantastic weekend. I hope all y'all did the same. Now, BYU football is looking forward to, I think, a really potential field 2025 season. Remember, coming off a really monumental 11-2 campaign a year ago, really showed what they're capable of as a football program. And the national media, the sports books out there, our friends at FanDuel, for whatever reason, they apparently don't believe in BYU in 2025. Let me show you an example of that. So our friends over at FanDuel, obviously they're a proud sponsor here on the podcast. They have BYU's over-under win totals for 2025 set at 7.5 wins. Yes, 8-4 is what would cover if you took the over in that circumstance. The highest win total in the conference across the board from FanDuel is 8.5 wins. That is shared by Kansas State, Arizona State, and then also Texas Tech, I think, has 8.5 wins as their over-under win total. So they believe that the best team or teams in the Big 12 Conference at this outset are going to go 9-3 if they're going to go over on that bet. Now, let's also acknowledge the fact that betting lines are set just to do that, to get people to entice them to bet. I'm sure some of you out there, and if you want to cash on that $150, you can go right now to FanDuel.com and place a $5 bet on BYU over under 7.5 wins and take that money right now. You can get in on that. Obviously, you have to play out the entire season to see how it all goes. But it is my initial reaction that 7.5 wins, that's low. Because here's the deal. BYU's vaunted rival, the team that's, for whatever reason, that people still believe is going to have a bounce back year, the vaunted Utah Utes, their under win total from our friends at FanDuel, 7.5 wins. They believe that BYU and Utah are essentially on the same plane right now in the Big 12 Conference. The bigger point to be made is they think the Big 12 Conference, the best teams are not even going to get to double-digit wins without a bowl win. That is what we're looking at right now in the Big 12 Conference. I see it as a bit of a slap in the face of the entire Big 12 because, yet again, there's some exceptionalism going on with the SEC and the Big 10, even though the SEC, let's be honest, pretty bad across the board, it felt like last year as a conference. But the bigger point to be made here is, can a team like a BYU rise above the fray, obviously surpass a 7.5 total win total, and become that team that carries the banner for the Big 12 Conference? Well, let's also look at metrics as to why BYU might be sitting where they're sitting. And that goes to the SP Plus rankings from Bill Connolly at ESPN. Now, these are predictive analytics looking forward to the season ahead, but using past numbers to kind of project where teams are at. Well, the best team in the conference, according to Bill Connolly's numbers right now, are the Kansas State Wildcats. They're number 19 with a 13.7 SP Plus rating. From ESPN. So they are down the list. There's a lot of SEC teams, Big 10 teams that are in front of them. Notre Dame is up there on the list. I just look at this, and Miami's the only Clemson and Miami are the two highest ACC teams here at 11 and 14. But then you have Kansas State checking in at 19. Well, where's BYU, Jake? Well, they are the third highest Big 12 team. TCU, who has an over-under win total of 6.5 wins, has a SP Plus number of 10.5. And then at number 27, there's BYU checking in with a 10.1 SP Plus number. Now, does that mean the BYU cannot make a run? No, that doesn't mean they can't make a run, but they are in very close territory with Iowa State and Arizona State, placing 28th and 29th right behind them. So that's, I think, why maybe these sports books essentially are putting the Big 12's top tier, including BYU, ASU, Kansas State, Utah. In this case, TCU probably needs to be up a little bit higher. That's why I think they're putting them at that kind of 7.5, 8.5 win total, trying to entice bettors because they think they could be that proverbial crab in buckets where they're essentially dragging each other back down into the fray. That's the interesting part about this, is which team or teams can essentially establish themselves as the banner waivers for the Big 12. And could a Kansas State jump from 19 into the top 10? Could BYU go from that 27 spot and find themselves top tier? The way too early preseason polls are giving BYU a lot more love than the predictive analytics like SP Plus, because ESPN, where Bill Connolly has BYU 27th, Their way too early preseason poll they put out right after the national championship had the Cougars inside the top 10. So there's a bit of a dichotomy here of eyeballs versus numbers when it comes to the BYU football program. Many of you know that I use numbers. I don't necessarily say numbers are the end all be all, but they are a very useful thing to learn and obviously analyze how teams are coming along, where they may be going. But they also there's just plain old dumb luck in football that cannot be quantified in my mind that you have to watch play out. This is a BYU team, speaking of the 2025 version, that they have got a lot of self-belief in that locker room. We'll be back out there at BYU football practice later this afternoon. It's a second opportunity for us as a media corps to watch about 20 minutes of practice. This will be their third practice of 15 practices in the spring period. But the thing is, this BYU team, the vibe I said last week at the end of the week, talking about the BYU football program was, this is a team, they know that they have got a ton of potential within them because they realized a lot of it a year ago, but they also understand that they had a razor thin margin that kept them from living their ultimate dreams of going to the Big 12 title game, of going to the college football playoff. And they're chomping at the bit to get a chance to run it back and get past that little, those, I don't call them speed bumps or whatever you want to call it, whatever those issues were that caused BYU, the plays, insert whatever adjective you want, that kept them from realizing their full potential a year ago. They're chasing that this year. And there's going to be a lot of pressure heaped upon them. There's a good reason why they're going to probably be at worst one of the top 4 teams in the preseason Big 12 poll, if not top 3, top 2, maybe the favorite. They should be there because really they finished the season with an absolute flourish. That win over Colorado is going to stick in a lot of BYU fans and the national media's minds as to what BYU did to the Colorado Buffaloes and Coach Prime. I think this BYU team understands where they're at. They understand that, yes, they accomplished a lot a year ago. They're very proud of what they did in 2024, but they want to take it to the next level in 2025. They want to go to the Big 12 title game. They want to go and play in the college football playoff if they can make it there. They want to live those dreams that the 2024 team came oh so close to living. And what it's going to take is they're going to have to lock in and understand that you cannot for a second blink. You can't take a play off. You have to stay engaged the entire way through. This level of football, if you want to play championship level caliber football, you have to go out there and be locked in every single play. And human nature is to take plays off or to take moments off. You simply cannot do that. And the training BYU's gone through, what they're going through right now with the strength and conditioning staff, the practices they're running right now here in the spring, all of it is geared towards staying locked in, staying in the moment, and understanding that right now, the biggest thing is the biggest thing right in front of you. Don't look beyond that. Don't look beyond the mark. Go out there, handle your business, get the job done as best you can today, and then worry about tomorrow when it comes. And once again, I'm as I'm as infallible a human as infallible. I know I'm as fallible. I'm not infallible. I am as fallible a human as there is out there. And I far too often look beyond the mark. That's what this BYU team, as it is human nature, has to fight against here as they look forward. I think they've got a really, really solid coaching staff led by Kalani Sitake that will absolutely do its best to keep the guys engaged and keep them focused on the here and now. But if they want to live this and surpass what FanDuel believes about them, what the SP Plus predictive analytics believe about them, they understand that they got really close a year ago. And now can you push through that and break through and live those dreams? They weren't too far off a year ago. Can they break through now? We'll see. But I do think this spring period, it cannot be overlooked as to how important it could be for BYU come this fall if they are going to really emerge from the pack in the Big 12 and maybe be that team that shows that, hey, we're the class of the Big 12 and we're going to live our dreams that we had going back over a year now and finally realize them in 2025.